U.S. military bases. Recently in Vicenza in Italy, about 100,000 people protested. Ecuador announced that it would close the Manta air base, the military base there. What about the response, the resistance to this web of bases around the world?
Well, there is a genuine resistance and has been for a long time. As I say, in the case of Okinawa, there's been at least 3 different historical revolts against the American presence. There's collaboration between the Japanese government and the Pentagon to use this island, which is a Japanese version of Puerto Rico. It's a place that's always been discriminated against, and it's the Japanese way of having their cake and eating it too. They like the alliance with America, but they do not want American soldiers based anywhere near the citizens of mainland Japan. So they essentially dump them, or quarantine them, off into this island where the population pays the cost. This is true what's going on in Italy right now, where there is tremendous resistance to the CIA rendition cases, that is, kidnapping people that we've identified and flying them secretly to countries where we know they will be tortured. There's right now something like 25 CIA officers by name who are under indictment by the Italian government for felonies committed by agents of the United States in Italy. And indeed, we just did have these major demonstrations in Vicenza. The people there believe that with the enlargement of the base that is already there, I mean, this is, after all, the old Palladian city, a city of great and famous architecture, that they would become a target of terrorism, of numerous other things. It's we see the resistance in the form of Prime Minister Zapatero in Spain, that he promised the people that after he came to power, he would get out of Iraq, and he was one of the few who did deliver, who does remember that if democracy means anything, it means that public opinion matters. Though in an awful lot of countries it doesn't actually seem to be the case, but he has reduced radically the American military presence in Spain, and it continues around the world. There is a growing irritation at the American colossus athwart the world, using its military muscle to do as it pleases. We see it right now. The people of the Persian Gulf are not being asked whether or not they want anywhere between 2 and 4 huge carrier task forces in the Fifth Fleet, in CENTCOM's Navy in the Persian Gulf, and all of which looks like preparation for an assault on Iran. We don't know that for certain by any manner of means, but there's plenty enough to make us suspicious. So that it's, and then you look back historically, probably there is no more anti-American democracy on earth than Greece. They will never forgive us for bringing to power the Greek colonels in the late 60s and early 70s, and of course also establishing then numerous American military enclaves in Greece until the colonels themselves finally self-destructed by simply going too far. And the cases are ubiquitous in Latin America, in Africa today. Probably still the most important area, of course, of military imperialism is the opening up of southern Eurasia after it became available to foreign imperialist pressure with the collapse of the Soviet Union. That many important observers who have resigned their commissions from the Pentagon have made the case that the fundamental explanation for the war in Iraq was precisely to make it to replace the 2 old pillars of American foreign policy in the Middle East. The first pillar, Iran, collapsed, of course, with the revolution in 1979 against the Shah, who we had installed in power. The second pillar, Saudi Arabia, had become less and less useful to us because of our own bungling. We put forces, military forces, ground forces, and Air Force in Saudi Arabia after the Gulf War in 1991. This was unnecessary, it was stupid, it was arrogant. It caused antagonism among numerous patriotic Saudis, not least of whom one was our former asset and colleague Osama bin Laden, that Saudi Arabia is charged with the defense of the two most sacred sites in Islam, Mecca and Medina. We ought to be able to do this ourselves without using infidel troops that know absolutely nothing about our religion, our country, our lifestyle, or anything else. Over time, the Saudis began to restrict the use of Prince Sultan Air Base outside Riyadh. We actually closed down our major operations headquarters there just before the invasion of Iraq and moved it to Qatar. Then we chose Iraq as the second most oil-rich country on earth, and as a place perfectly suited for our presence. I think many people have commented on it, Seymour Hersh notably, but I think importantly, one of the reasons we had no exit plan from Iraq is that we didn't intend to leave. And certainly the evidence of it is the now series of at least 5 very, very large, heavily reinforced, long double runways, 5 air bases in Iraq, strategically located all over the country. You could never get our ambassador, the Department of Defense, the President, or anybody to say unequivocally, we don't intend to have bases there. It's a subject on which Congress never, ever opens its mouth. Occasionally, military officers, the commander of Air Force in CENTCOM has repeatedly, in a sort of offhand way, when asked, how long do you think we'll be here? And he usually says, oh, at least a decade in these bases. And then we continue to reinforce them. Now that we've tried to build bases in Central Asia, in the Caspian Basin, oil-rich countries that were made independent, not made in any sense democracies, made independent by the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. We have